Hey there again everyone, SpooferJahk here again with another video for good old Vadim. Today we are going to talk about the exclusive content available in the Japanese version of Vice City. In addition to that, we will be examining some of the odd censorship that Rockstar had to do to Vice City to satisfy Japan's CERO rating system as well. With no delays, let's get on to the rest of the video. To start this video, I want to highlight one interesting thing. Japanese versions of the GTA series always released in this region with a slight delay. For instance, Japanese PS2 versions were released 1.5 years after the worldwide release, while the PC and Xbox versions were delayed by only 5 months. You heard that right, this is the only region where the region received the PC version first with the PS2 version following. Due to these delays, the Japanese release of Vice City appears to have some exclusive content and even some improvements. For instance, while developing the PC version, Rockstar decided to add two completely new Tommy skins to use, Tache and Wild. By applying the Tache skin, Tommy will have a mustache, whiskers, and slightly different eyebrows. His clothes are completely black and overall looks kind of impressive. If you always wanted to play as a fantastical mustachioed thug, he is a great choice to consider. The second skin, Wild, seems to be a reskin of his default clothes, with a few differences. Tommy seems to have blonde hair and stubble. He wears a red shirt and light blue jeans. If you don't like his default clothes, it can be an interesting skin to use. Both of these exclusive Japanese skins were later released as a part of the Mac OS port of the game, and later appeared in the Android version files. The problem is, the Android version doesn't even support the dang skin system. And yeah, if you want to mess around with them, the link can be found in the description below. The next interesting thing Rockstar did to the Japanese release is that they changed this wheel texture. For some reason, they decided to avoid any similarities with Fiat Punto's hubcaps, therefore making the new texture less similar to them. Fun fact is, this change appears only on the PS2 version of the game because Rockstar simply broke this feature on PC. The thing is, they changed this texture in a wrong texture container, which the PC version doesn't even use. Thankfully, this bug doesn't appear in the PS2 version of the game, because the game has only one texture container with the right texture. If you're wondering, this change doesn't apply to the Xbox version, because this version always had different wheels and textures. The next thing people received in this region are two exclusive Japanese skins for the Vercetti gang. They are still Marios saying the same garbage over and over again, but look like Yakuza members, which is a bit strange for the Miami locale for the game. Yet again, this change only appears on the PS2. My guess is they screwed with the PC version once again, and if you want to read my thoughts, you can pause the video now. And no, I don't think that these are beta models. As I said before, the Japanese release received some extra content in the form of bug fixes. These bug fixes are not so crucial and don't change the gameplay at all, but they are still worth a mention. Remember the unique golden stretch in the Martha's mugshot mission? Did you want to get one in your hands? Well, a long time ago, several players found an interesting trick to steal it by simply killing a chauffeur with a headshot and his dead body opens a door for us. Unfortunately, the mission would fail if he did this. Interestingly enough, this trick was fully fixed in the Japanese release because you can't kill him anymore. But yeah, there is yet another trick to steal this golden limo. Just run towards the vehicle and set it on fire by using a flamethrower. The driver will run away, leaving the door open. People enjoy this trick more since it does not lead to mission failure, and of course we all have inner arson tendencies. Unfortunately, you can't do this anymore in the Japanese release because the limo now has fireproof protection. Moreover, there are new flags in the code which forbids the driver to abandon his car in any way and respond to threats. It means Japanese players can't trigger another amusing glitch where Tommy could replace Candy's chauffeur and drive it to the checkpoint. Did you know that the limo drives without you pressing the keys? You should try it. Some of these fixes were also reused for the Cuban Voodoos in the Trojan Voodoo mission, where they received fireproofing as well. This time you can actually kill drivers though. They must have forgotten to make them immoral for this mission. In the worldwide release, you can ignite their cars and they will abandon their cars just like the limo driver. However, during the mission, Tommy will talk with these ghosts, as well as we will see these cars driving without the Cubans. Did you hate this pesky bug with the stuck Top Fun van after completing the Bombs Away mission? It feels like the van is frozen to the ground and you can't do anything about that. Even a tank can't move this bucket of nuts. In the Japanese release, the developers added a special flag in the code to let this van unfreeze after completing the mission. That's right, Japanese players didn't have the fun times messing around with the stuck top fan van as we all had. What I actually love about their version is the fact that they finally fixed a pesky bug involving a one-seat vehicle in the Love Juice mission. If you didn't know, by using a one-seat vehicle like a pizza boy to pick up Mercedes, the cutscene will freeze and you don't have any other option other than to quit the game. In the Japanese version, the game tells you to find another vehicle for that. But anyways, the developers didn't stop with that. They also decided to add some more minor improvements. For instance, during the cannon fodder mission, the players leave the car slightly before the Cubans, instead of right after as in the international release. And if you noticed, they also moved the mission marker. When you waste at least 300 greens in your newly acquired pole position club, the mission complete cutscene now lasts a bit longer. The message, "Come back when you have finished the biker gang missions," is now shown for 4 seconds instead of 1. During the all hands on deck mission, the spawn point inside the mall for the Infernus is now disabled. Why? That's because if you manage to get inside the mall during this mission and enter the car, the mission would fail and you will be stuck in the ghost world. I have to wonder who messed around enough to discover this bug and how they achieved it. Actually, there are more bug fixes and improvements made for this region's release, but if you want to know more about them, pause the video and check out the full list from Space Einstein and Savin Play FTW on the GTA forums. I actually used their posts to prepare this topic, and I want to give a huge thanks for them. On the other hand, the Japanese release isn't as polished and great as you are led to believe. Unfortunately, it was a victim of censorship, and let's briefly talk about it. First of all, since violence and gore is too risque for the Japanese market, thanks CERO, some gore aspects of the game were slightly nerfed. For instance, blowing off the heads of pedestrians has been completely removed and blood was nerfed. Here is a slow motion comparison. Speaking of blood, you won't see any blood droplets on your screen by using a chainsaw. This feature was omitted from the Japanese version of the game. Finally, if the player uses deadly explosives, you won't see blood splats anymore. Here is a slow motion comparison. Other stuff like running with the katana was untouched. Don't ask me why, this is strange attempts at censorship. Speaking of mysteries, I have no idea why, but the developers decided to make the fire sprite much bigger, but only for the PC version. Looks as if someone really wanted to see the Vice City world burned to a crisp. Secondly, they also decided to remove all scenes with Ken Rosenberg taking his special Miracle Wonder sugar. The first mission is No Escape, which originally starts like this. To solve this problem, this mission in the Japanese version starts right after the controversial scene.
Tommy! Hey Tommy, look at this. This is great.
The same thing happens with the Shootist mission, which had this scene. And now it starts like this.
You need a stick-up man, you know one? Hey Tommy, this stuff keeps you sharp, man. Woo!
The next thing they had to do was censor the love scenes during the 2 missions for the film studio. In Martha's mugshot, Japanese players will not hear any of Candy's moans because they were simply cut out, making the scene silent for the most part. Here is the international version.
Yes. Yes.
Moreover, they changed the camera angle to hide some of the special fun from the scene, and here's a quick comparison.
Potatoes, but then
Don't give a crap about that. Just keep going.
The second mission is the G Spotlight cutscene, which was cut short as well. The developers simply cut the scene with Steve insisting Candy to do some creative swallowing.
Well, for pity's sake, how can you not feel the part?
But Stevie...
And now it starts like this.
How's my star director?
Oh man, the struggle between the artistic integrity...
And yet again, they also hid the love scene from the player and removed all the moans.
Pumping action continues unabated. And before you ask, yes, all four. Please keep the Andacon and the shoddy cost more per hour than you do.
Oh,
Limos,
sorry.
the night sky crisscross with searchlights.
Searchlight. I got an idea.
Speaking of this mission, remember the spotlight we used to promote an adult film? This smiley face was replaced with simple text in the Japanese version, but for some reason not on the PC Japanese release. Looks like the later Japanese versions are more polished than the PC release for this region. What the heck? And now be prepared for the worst cut ever. Ready? While they replace all extravagant photos of Candy Sucks in Diaz's mansion with kittens and flowers. Just think about it, Diaz, the drug lord of all Vice City, has rather adorable flower and kitten photos all over the place. Don't forget about this giant poster with a cool cat on the wall. With all honesty, this change looks rather weird. Didn't they try to make it less stupid? Was it a joke from Rockstar? Would be interesting to get an answer, because the cat change makes Diaz look even more insane than he should. Here is a good question for you. Do you know why almost all recent Vice City speedruns are played on a Japanese version of the game? That's because this version has one unique bug, and thanks to it, the speedrunners can complete the game faster by skipping some chunks of the game. Here's a brief story. In order to unlock the third act of the game, the player must complete 7 assets, and 2 of them are Mansion and Printworks. To avoid completing the other 5 assets, speedrunners can start the Hit the Courier mission for Printworks, and while on the mission, they also start the Distribution mission. If they cancel the Distribution mission, they insta-pass this mission, which gives them a +1 point to their asset complete stat. But that's not all, they can repeat this glitch again and again. After the 5th time, they have to complete the Printworks mission, and that's it. The third act of the game is unlocked. If you didn't get it, instead of completing 5 assets, they replayed the Distribution mission 5 times. Special thanks for the footage goes to Anti, who to this date has the international record completing the Japanese version of the game. The information about this bug was provided by KZ Fru, Mohammed FVC, and Nick007J. And thanks to Gale for the support. But anyways, we're not done with the Japanese release yet. Since it was published and distributed by Capcom there, the game received 2 additional intros, one telling you that you must be over 18 years old to play it, with the second one showing the well-known Capcom logo. Moreover, the discs and the cover have a Capcom logo. It is rather cool to have the companies responsible for legends like Grand Theft Auto and Mega Man printed all on one disc. Oh, and here is a minor thing. They slightly changed the intro screen. Nothing really interesting about it, but still worth showing. Furthermore, the Japanese version has only one language available to use, their own. No English language options to be found here. The developers simply cut an option to choose a different language in the menu and removed any other text containers from the game. They also changed in-game fonts, so if I replace, for instance, the Japanese text container with the international English one in the PC version, you will clearly see the difference. It will work, but with glitches though. The interesting thing is, the Xbox version has all the language containers, but the game doesn't use them even by changing the dashboard language. Moreover, both PC and Xbox versions received a minor improvement. Instead of saying what button you need to press, the tips will show you an image of the button instead. If you're wondering, previously this feature was available only on PS2. And hey, if we were to compare these versions, then we could clearly see that the DualShock icons are different. Despite the fact that the release has only one language, a lot of English strings in the Japanese text container were not translated. For instance, the mission names and the car names are untouched. What is more interesting is the fact that some of the English strings are different. For example, the mission pass string is now mission completed. The distribution mission for the Cherry Popper asset is now called Ice Cream Mission. It was probably done to hide the fact that you are selling drugs in this mission, but that's just my theory. Instead of Good Citizen bonus, Japanese players see Nice Guy bonus. Quite a fun little change. Some of the asset names in the stats receive proper names. For instance, instead of Taxi Company, the stat says Kaufman Cabs, and so on. Moreover, they changed Asset Completed to Mission Completed, I guess to avoid any difficulties to understand what it means through the translation. And speaking of assets, they decided to change Protection Ring to Vercetti Estate. Have you ever wondered why the Vercetti Estate is called Protection Ring? Unfortunately, the Japanese release appears to be a Haitian-friendly version, where you won't hear or see any words like Haitian, Cuban, and even all expressions insulting various groups of people. They were simply omitted from the game after Haitian-American community protests. I assume you already know about these in-game differences, therefore we will skip this part. If you don't, YouTube is your friend for learning this information. By the way, the Japanese region has a different control scheme. Instead of a cross for yes and a triangle for no, the Japanese PS2 version uses the cross for no and the circle for yes. If you are wondering, this is a common thing for Japanese PlayStation games in general, which I think Rockstar Games decided to implement for this version. These changes are present in the game menu, ammunition, and hardware stores, and potentially for other places as well. As you can guess, these controls are kinda inconvenient for us to use because it swaps yes with no and adds completely different keys for another action. But the PC version is a different story. Instead of a sprint for no and fire button for yes, the international release uses sprints for yes and enter the car for no. I need to press the left mouse button to buy things now. Okay, I guess. This fact made me think that both PC and PS2 versions were in the development around the same time, because this is a change in the game engine. By the way, if you know the Japanese language and you are willing to help me, drop me a line. I have some Japanese materials that can be properly translated and I need your help. Anyways, that's the end for this video today, and if you'd like to see more GTA related content and just other game stuff in general, subscribe to Vadim's channel by clicking the subscribe button below. This has been SpooferJahk voicing a video for Vadim, and over and out.